Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion. Today, we're going to be talking about smart procurement and strategies, building resilience, real estate, supply chains for tomorrow. Today, we have a esteemed schedule of panelists here, as you can see, who will share insights on procurement and strategic partners and how they can drive resilience and innovation in real estate partnerships. Our discussion will cover a number of themes, including redefining procurement, leveraging strategic partnerships, building resilience through supply chains and agility, how we harness technology, driving sustainability and compliance. We aim to provide some actionable insights for you today, and if you have any questions, we'll focus on those at the end of the session. So firstly, I'm going to kick off and explore the key factors driving this change and what strategies procurement leaders should adapt to stay ahead of the curve. Sam, I'll come to you first.
So first of all, good afternoon. Good to see you all. In terms of procurement strategies, procurement has changed significantly, I think, and you'll notice that in a very short time, it's become less of a transactional task and more into strategic tasks. So I think there are some, in terms of the fundamental shifts, I think procurement and supply chain professionals, first and foremost, need to be very cognizant of risk management. In the volatile supply chain environment that we exist in right now, I think everybody and every company needs to have not only a plan A, but also plan B, probably plan C or plan D, in terms of how they're going to secure their supply of key materials. So I think that's the first strategy that organizations need to adopt. They have to have a keen sense of risk management. Secondly, they need to have a very strong and strategic relationship with their key suppliers. So having identified who your essential or key suppliers are, you need to make sure you adopt strategies to work with them which are not transactional, which are not confrontational, and which complement both parties. Because really you need to be able to trust your supplier to be able to help you overcome the inevitable supply chain issues that you're gonna encounter, and they also need to be able to trust you that you're going to give them a sustainable continuity of supply. So those are the two main things. But I think the third one for organizations is to be really, really savvy and literate with technology. You have to understand technology, and I think it's something we'll explore more in this panel, but you have to understand technology for the benefits and efficiency it gives you to be able to be more successful in terms of scale and in terms of speed to market. So those are my three things, and I'm sure some of the other panelists will have a few more.
Brilliant, thank you, Sam. Man, can I come to you next? Have you got a mic there? Brilliant.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. As Sam mentioned, I think that today we have to reshape how we think about the procurement and supply chain. And I believe today's discussion with Sam and our CEO, I think, I remember he mentioned clearly that the real estate, it's a procurement. So we have to reshape our understanding about the function in itself. Procurement and supply chain, it's the main trigger of any new business. If you look for the new trends of business like Amazon, or the base is the procurement. So the concept here, how we can rethink about this function and what's the dimensions it can be created and shaped in the procurement, by the procurement itself, and which levels of new horizon we can reach there. It is not only like to be a processor or paper pusher to finalize the deal, and that's it. There is an impact to the business itself. It will be a main and strength arm who will be support the business itself. For that reason, I think all of the business owners, they need to rethink how they can make the correct position of the procurement in their own organization. A lot of techniques, a lot of theories related to the procurement, and in each business models now live in the business itself, you will find a space to the procurement role. It is not only related about cost, it is not related only about negotiation, about the saving. No, I think you need to think big and out of the box to how we reshape the procurement function itself to be the main support arm of any business in the world. And I believe the new generation of the procurement employees, they have to understand that. They have to think about the business. They have to follow the news, the economic news, the politics news. Yesterday discussion, we use that, and we use all of the actions happens in the news every day, and that impact reflect on the business itself, and also the procurement was one of the leaders in this business.
Brilliant. The organisation supporting, driving that change is really important factor as well. So Frederick, coming over to you now.
Yes, thank you, Jed. Salam alaikum, masal khair. Good afternoon, all. The role of procurement has really, really changed. When you look in the last 10 years, in one decade, if you look at the change, I can compare it to the dinosaurs which have gone, and now we are looking into a new era. By saying that, I mean, previously, we used to have procurement be looked at as a function which is purely administrative, and to bring change into organization is not easy. But sometimes in human generation, we are faced with challenges. And one of the challenges that I can remember is still fresh in our minds is the challenge of COVID. During this time, it came to organization to understand that there is an importance of procurement when it comes to proper contract management. Most organizations came to realize that during this time, as much as you do have a contract, it is a piece of paper which has been executed by both an organization and suppliers or vendors. But that paper has got clauses, provisions, which only procurement is able to identify the risks, interpret these risks, and be able to guide organizations on how to manage these risks. Going back to COVID period, a lot of organizations came to realize that within a contract, there are provisions which protect organizations from such events. We do have provisions of liability, provisions of force majeure, and it's easy to talk about these provisions here, and I believe some of us will be thinking, these are just buzzwords, but there are so many consequences that are linked onto this provision. So, going back to the point, the role of procurement has really changed. It's all about having resources within an organization which understand how to manage a contract. Amongst ourselves, we come from organizations where you sign an agreement with suppliers, and then it's business as usual. That is a risk at hand. The role of organization now is looking into managing the contract, looking at the risks, ensuring that not only the obligations of the supplier to provide goods and services are met, but as organizations, We do have to make sure that we meet the objective and obligations which we do have to the suppliers. Pay suppliers on time, for instance. We find there are suppliers who have got different financial muscles. Some will be able to provide credit facilities, while some don't. The role of procurement has really changed to a point that we need to sit down and collaborate with suppliers, discuss if these payment terms make sense, support our suppliers on how to advance credit opportunities with banks. So, as I conclude, procurement is not only an administrative function, but rather a function which collaborates with suppliers, internal stakeholders, to ensure that we obtain a win-win-win position. Thank you.
Absolutely fundamental points around the whole life cycle, and not forget that you've put a contract in place, and also around the supplier engagement, an essential part of forming any strategy. So Nicholas, I'm coming over to you now.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for inviting us. And thank you for doing a great job. I'll take a slightly different point of view here on the question, and primarily relating to what procurement is doing now and how it is done. On the first part, on how, this has more of a local effect, whereby in the last 10 years, as was said, apart from other challenges globally, locally, we had the awakening, let me say, of Saudi Arabia in 2030. So we had huge projects, which by definition changed the whole outlook of how projects are done. All of a sudden, it was not something to construct and let it be. We had other things that come into play. For example, the cost, CapEx, OpEx, profitability. These are issues that have transformed completely the map. Procurement also, in that regard, also needed to advance to complement those services, because that's what, interruption, sorry. And because procurement, by definition, needs to complement and provide all those services, goods, services, products, to the organization. So on that end, procurement has not changed, has evolved. I would like to say has evolved, has matured. Looking at all the project rollout phases, needing to be there from the business case, to the feasibility, to the design, to the construction, and to the operation. So all of that needs to be accounted for. At the same time, just like all the predecessors discussed, there's an amazing number of tools that have come in. In the last, let's say, 30 years, it was the evolution of IT. And lately, we have AI, which is a more advanced form of IT, let's say. So things have changed drastically, and allow me to say only to remain the same, because we should not lose sight of the fact that as procurement people, the procurement industry needs to provide the services required by the organization. It's the tools that have changed. So we should keep our focus on the main thing, which is to make sure that we have everything we need in order to do and to conclude, to get our project across, to get it done on time, on budget. So yes, there's a lot of changes, but sorry, we should not lose sight of the fact we should keep our focus on providing what we need to do to the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. And I'm going to stay with you now on building resilience and agility. So can you talk to us around how procurement leaders build resilience within their teams and the processes to manage that agility?
Sure. Okay. Further to the previous reply, we have a lot of tools now. So our job is a lot more complex. There's a lot more tools to control. At the same time, these are not just tools, these can be weapons. We got to make sure that they're used for the benefit of the organization. So when we talk about strategic procurement, in essence, we're building, as was mentioned previously, we are building a mutually beneficial relationship with key suppliers, okay, for key services in our projects, in our organizations. And that's the key. We need to align the joint interests. We need to build win-win relationships. These are the only types of contracts that really work. So resilience, how does that come into play? Because in your approach to mitigate risks, you need to have plan A, plan B, and plan C, as was very well stated previously by the panelists, okay? So what is resilience? Resilience is to make sure you deliver. In this day and age, with all the PIF projects, and I'm being more local now, okay? You never know. When you do your pre-qualification, for example, everybody says, yes, I will be there. When the right time comes, that may not be the case. So what the outlook we had 2 years ago with nobody being available versus last year where we're stable, now some things may be more accessible and so on. Resilience. We need to stay in touch with what is happening in the market. So resilience. Nice word. We need to be there since the beginning of the project in all the rollout phases. We have a say in what happens at the inception stage, okay? How things are going to be procured, okay? Investment, same thing. Design, construction, operation. And we need to make sure that this is sustainable for the lifetime of the project, 20, 25, 30 years. That's what we need to do, and we need to have alternative options. And we need to use the tools, and thank God there's a lot of tools out there, to make sure that this is communicated all across the organization within the team. Avoiding silos and collaboration and communication also are being a very big key into ensuring that this is done. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So talking around the supply chain and moving into strategic partnerships as competitive advantage. So Sam, I'm going to come to you. Can you talk us through some examples of successful partnerships and how those can enhance procurement as a profession?
Absolutely. I think maybe Man can give you a great example, because the best example I can give today is probably NHC. Yeah. They have some great examples of how strategic partnerships work, but I won't steal his thunder. But please do hear his example. But the reality is that it's probably not necessary to give examples of organizations, but to just give the highlight that look, let's talk in theory here. If Tesla did not have a strategic partnership with the supply of batteries, then they would not be an organization right now. Strategic partnerships are not a nice to have. They're an essential part of business. You don't make strategic partnerships with everybody, but you do make strategic partnerships with those partners who are absolutely fundamental to your business. Because if for any reason you are unable to secure continuous supply of that service or that material, then that would fundamentally disrupt or end your business. So what you do is you identify who these partners are, and in the case of real estate, it would be the key materials or maybe other key parts of the supply chain or materials that are essential to building a house in this case, whereby if you are unable to secure that supply anymore, you could not continue your business. So you form these strategic partnerships, and what does that mean? It's all very well saying, we have a strategic partnership, we have a contract. But some of the examples of doing that are, once you've identified who your strategic partner is, then at the very basic level, you form tangible touch points throughout the organization. So yes, your CEO to their CEO need to have a formal get-together, formal meeting at a regular time. Maybe it's every 6 months. Your store manager and their store manager need to have a touch point. The senior executive need to have a touch point. And by doing that, what you're able to do is you're able to rely on each other on things like innovation, on price fluctuations, on supply chain challenges. Because I do know during COVID, a study that we did at SIPS showed that the majority of organizations, when at the onset of COVID, were unaware that their shipments were going to be delivered late until they were delivered late, which suggests that those organizations did not have strategic partnerships with their key suppliers. Because the organizations that did have strategic partnerships, they were aware ahead of time that there was going to be delay in their crucial shipments, and they were able to take action against it without it having an effect. So it's not a nice to have. Strategic partnerships are fundamental to what you do for key components, for key services and materials, and it's important that you make that investment in time to form strategic partnerships to ensure the continuity of your business.
Thank you, Sam. And drawing out the benefits of those strategic partners are really important within the organisation, and actually looking at those relationships in an alternative manner to traditional contracting. Man, can I come to you to really draw out the example of NHC around the benefits and how they've played into the organisation?
Again, we back the procurement mentality. And that's, I think it's matched with the previous question, what we discussed. Since we have this mentality, since we have this vision, everything we're gonna do to be settled. First, let's identify who is the partner. Our end user, the beneficiary, it is a partner, isn't it? Our partners from developers, it is our partner. Our vendors from contractors, it's our partner. Even the manufacturers and building material suppliers, it's a partner. So the game here, how is the buyer or the purchaser have a good and strategic relationship with all of these parties? How can he to be success to let all of these parties feeling good, interest to increase the business itself. And that way, I believe if you have this mentality and that vision, everything it will be settled. What we did in NSC is we sit with the end users. We listen from them. What is your pains? What's the issues? What do you have once you hand over the housing unit itself? And what's the snag list, what you did and have with the contractors? And then we sit with the contractors, and then we sit. So it is a layers of partners here. You have to sit and listen and understand what's the pain there. Then you can build your strategy and your vision. Beside of that, we have the power here. We have a huge demand. And then we back with the normal procurement mentality, beside of the lessons what we get and the feedback what we get from our partners. And we review it and made a lot of analysis. We found that we need hundreds of local manufacturers, that it will be impacting the economy itself. I mean, the national economy. It will be effect on the job creations. It will be impact on the financials. It will be reflect in different ways and different fields. For that, as we are a real estate developer, then we understand what is our goal, what is our objectives, then we move with all of the stakeholders. We sit with them. The platform, believe me, there is no any enforcement about the platform to let our contractors to use it. It is their decision. Just they are following the cost itself. And since we get the best cost or the best price, beside of that, we have a clear standardization. Beside of that, we know what we have in our manufacturers list based on our qualification. We provide all required services from our buyers, that mean contractors and developers. Everyone then will be happy, even the end user. Because now, today, the end user, once he signs his contract to buy this housing units, he know what the brands, what the quality level, what's the cost, what's the warranties, and everything. So in that mechanism, we create a new business model in the real estate, and we transfer the understands and the mentality of the procurement from to be a processor and release your purchase orders to create a new business, and how to transfer the procurement to be an investment arm. Now our relationship with the foreigners, and visitors, they are coming to Saudi Arabia. They were attracted by the vision itself, what's the targets what we have, and the huge demand what we have in NSC. And I believe we are on the way to succeed in this mission. Beside of that, we are following what our leaders looking for and what our leaders is thinking and planning. Without any support from the management, without any support from the leaders themselves, we got a support and enabling from even His Excellency, the Minister of Housing. He was believing the model itself, and he do everything and his communications just to facilitate our efforts in the supply chain. For that, today, alhamdulillah, we reach over 2 billion in that Supply Pro platform. We announce over than 5 billion Saudi Riyal agreements with foreigners and visitors from China and different countries to invest in Saudi Arabia, and that it will be impact on the localization. And then we're gonna to support the local content. So different ways, and you can make it with one move. You get different goals in one move. The whole organization, they are believing in that way. They are believing in that vision. They are believing in that plan. And I believe it's on the land right now.
A brilliant example of the development stage, and actually not just servicing the needs of your organisation, but understanding how that fits with the supply chain and how you work collaboratively together. And I think an important point which you've drawn on there really is around the vision setting and making sure that each of those supply chain members, the expectations are clear around how you can actually work together, collaborate and invest. Brilliant, thank you, Man.
And if you let me add, I think it's related about the communication. So once your communication is clear, all of the parties will follow it. All the parties will gonna to develop it and enhance it and share with you their opinions, which gonna to be good to your concept and your ideas. Yeah.
Getting the culture right. So next, Frederick, we're going to come to you around leadership and culture in supply chain. So how does leadership and organisation culture influence the success of supply chain management?
Thank you, Jed. I hear you putting together two questions in one. So there's a question about leadership, culture, and how it impacts procurement. Before I provide my contribution, I'd like to disagree with Sam. Sam has provided his view regarding strategic alliances, but there is one point that I think he's missed, and I'd like to retaliate that. The biggest strategic alliance that I've seen in the recent past that has happened is organizations have realized the need to partner with Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. If I bring it home to my personal level, as a fellow in my organization, I champion procurement excellence to integrate the tools and techniques which my colleagues have spoken about, and this has brought about immense change. Bringing it to the kingdom, while we are all gearing towards Vision 2030, we are seeing more and more awareness within our organization to improve the profile of procurement and supply. I would urge all of us, if we have these alliances and strategic alliance with the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, we embrace it, we speak about it, we encourage our colleagues, and personally, I advocate for that. Sorry, Sam, I hate to say that. Going back to leadership and organization culture, leadership again starts with an individual. As a procurement leader, I believe that charity begins at home. As a leader, when you leave home, you have your families, and then you extend that leadership to work. So, leadership is about making decisions. And when it comes to procurement, the decisions that procurement leaders should make should be data-driven decisions. We will be speaking about information technology, how it can help us make data-driven decision-making. At this point, I just want to highlight that the role of procurement is really increasing to a point that we are being invited into a round table, and it's important when we get that chance to speak about, provide opportunities for leadership, CEOs, internal stakeholders, to see beyond cost savings and understand that the decisions that we are making as procurement function is driven by data. There's a lot of data out there. How we can get this data, it can be done through market intelligence, benchmarking from what has been done before. We can extrapolate to the future, and we do a little bit of analytics and look at the demand forecasting. All this will help procurement function to make data-driven decisions. Number two is aligning the vision of an organization, the strategy of an organization, with the strategy of procurement. Many times you find that procurement is being perceived in our organization as the police, the roadblocks, the bottlenecks. However, that's not the role of procurement. In my function, within my team, what we do with procurement is whenever we have a requirement, an inquiry, an individual walking to us, we ask, how may we help you? Having that vision, having that strategy being defined from a customer point of view will help a lot. And the role of procurement is to be able to align that strategy, vision of an organization to the vision within the team. This can be done by cascading the vision to individual members of the team, making sure that as we set the objectives of employees within the year for appraisals, this objective reflects the vision of the organization. Number three, it's all about collaboration. We are in GCC region. We meet different nationalities as part of our internal, external stakeholders. Collaboration is important. Procurement function cannot be able to collaborate effectively if we cannot communicate. I've taken a challenge to myself and make sure that I try to speak Arabic. And when I have a problem, when I need to reach out to my internal stakeholders, I try to speak some Arabic words. For instance, I would say, Shut Sawi, Salam Alaikum. Some of these words will enable us to break the ice, will enable us to communicate effectively, increase our ability to influence our internal stakeholders, and be able to drive change. Lastly is change management. Procurement is all about change management. There is a new system, there are new employees, there's a new governance, there's a new compliance requirements. Having leadership understand how to collaborate, how to speak to internal stakeholders, how to speak to suppliers whenever there's a change of governance, change of policies, is really important. It's not all about enforcing, but it's all about proposing and engaging the teams while sharing these changes. So change management is really important. Now, allow me to respond to your second question, which was about culture.
Yeah.
Organization culture, again, I'll go back to our homes. We're coming from lovely families, whereby we do have a strong culture. In this region, one of the culture that I know and I've seen since I came into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is respect. Having these cultures within our teams ensure that we share these cultures within an organization. Another way of ensuring that we have good culture is to embrace the culture of continuous improvement. We know that information technology is changing day in and out. There is no way we can sleep and say that now we've attained what we need. iPhone is a very good example. Back in 2008, when Steve Jobs was alive, we had the iPhone 1. And we used to make a joke that we're going to have iPhone 10. Now we are talking about iPhone 16. And every time what the Apple company is trying to do is to advance the technology and ensure that efficiency, quality, speed is achieved to drive value. Thank you, Jed.
Great response there, Frederick. I think culture really important, and also what I like there in your response was really around the equality and diversity piece of teams, and actually how you interact with people on a daily basis really either shapes or has a negative impact on conversations within the business. So very relevant in terms of how you prioritize stakeholders and how you influence people as well in those spaces. I'm going to move us on to technology now in procurement, and how technology within procurement can be used as a powerhouse. So in what ways does technology transform procurement as a powerhouse, and how does it drive efficiencies and innovation? So Sam, I'm coming to you on this one.
Great. I think I mentioned earlier that technology, especially the level of or the quality of technology that we have now, we're talking about agentic AI at this point. That's what we're really talking about, and that's not the technology of tomorrow, that's the technology of today. So technology in procurement and supply chain, as in most professions, industries, or at home, just make you more efficient, make you more effective, and allow you to get more done. So what does that mean for procurement? I think for procurement, traditionally, in terms of your effort, it's the traditional 80-20 split that traditional procurement teams will have in terms of their effort. So 80% of your time is spent managing 20% in value of your spend. So what happens to that? What happens to 80% in value of your spend? The top parts of your spends, the billions rather than the individual dirhams. You're spending less time on your higher value spend as on your low value items. So at the bottom end, what technology is able to do through repetitive process is the use of bots. Technology is able to automate a lot of your transactional items within procurement. And what that does is that frees up human beings, that's you and I, us, to focus on answering more strategic questions and coming up with strategic strategies to unlock higher values in spend. So that's the first thing in terms of efficiency. Technology also helps us to be more effective. You know, you utilize it the right way, we can be more analytical. We can make decisions a lot faster. We can mitigate risk a lot quicker and come up with more risk scenarios by utilizing technology and AI in the right way. So in procurement and supply, the uses are vast. And of course, the final thing is transparency. Because in procurement and supply, there's a level of ethical behavior required. And we're looked upon as a department, as a function, as people to uphold the highest values within an organization. And technology helps us to do that. It helps us to add a level of transparency, not just in what we do, but in how we engage with suppliers, which leads me on to my fourth point, which is accessibility to the supply chain. Without the use of technology, I would find it very hard to search globally for suppliers of a specific commodity or good. And also, I'd find it difficult to deal with a number of suppliers in terms of price analytics or evaluation of specifications. But technology as a partner is able to help us do that. So the key thing here is that technology used in the correct way makes us more efficient and effective and ethical. I would say there is no point using technology for the sake of it, because I've seen examples where people would buy, I would say, a name of a software brand just because another company has it, and it's ended up making their processes and procedures even more complicated. And that's not what we're saying. If your adoption of technology, which is a tool, which is an enabler, is not making you more effective, then you need to consider whether you're using it correctly or whether you need to deploy it in the first place. So technology should make you effective, more efficient, and all the rest should follow.
Definitely. I think, again, just around technology and data. So a lot of organizations collect a lot of data. Are they tracking the right things, and how then you use that data to inform strategy? That's really what the people need to support them make informed decisions. I'd like to go to sustainability and how compliance and sustainability play to each other. So I'm going to come to you, Nicholas. So what strategies can procurement leaders employ to drive sustainability, but also ensure compliance at the same time?
Well, that's a very interesting question. In addressing this, we need to look at, again, the map of where we are operating, in the sense that what we were doing, as many the co-panelists said, what was being done 10 years ago versus what is being done now. There has been a very big shift in focus in providing, at least that's my honest opinion, in providing a complete service, not just a nice building. Structures and goods and services that are human-centric, okay? In that sense, when we say compliance, compliance to what exactly? Compliance needs a reference point, okay, a background. We are compliant to the law, we are compliant to the culture, we are compliant to nature, we are compliant. So there's many ways of compliance. And the big difference is that this has all been integrated. It's not a separate thing for somebody else to look at, okay? And the same thing is related to sustainability as well. These are not options anymore. These are fundamental requirements. So it's a starting block. It has already been integrated. It needs to be integrated. It needs to be a basic principle to build on. And I'm happy to say that in my experience in large organizations in the last few years, there's a whole different, better, and much improved concept about compliance. Let me give you a very small example. Okay, previously, like 10 years ago, compliance in projects in construction. Okay, who cares? Are we with the law? The law was the only consideration. Okay, that's no longer the case. And it's not what the manager says. There's a lot that has evolved. There's ICC based in Riyadh. There's openness. Government projects are now have dispute resolution, as per ICC rules, for example. There's a center here in Riyadh. Everybody is very much aware about what everybody else is doing. Technology has also this benefit or drawback, let's say. You cannot hide. It's very hard to hide these days, okay? So I am not addressing the actual question as to what it is, because it's already, my approach is that it's already in there. It's a basic, these are basic pillars, okay? So I'm sorry for not entertaining details, but this is, I'm sticking to principles only. And that's my take on it.
Great. Well, I'm going to come to you, Man, because what I'd really like to draw on from your response there, Nicholas, is the balancing of the priorities, which, again, is all these things, the framework is there, right? So how do organizations look at those priorities and balance things like cost and operational effectiveness?
Well, again, me and my colleague, we mentioned that there is something major here is communication. And how is your communication is clear to them to understand your plans, your targets, what's the benefits to them if they are following your concept. It's typically depends on your communication. It will be base of, the skills that required from any professional is focusing on his objectives right now. We were very close from our partners. We were very open to them. As I mentioned, we share with them our objectives. They shared with us their pains and issues and difficulties. As one of what we launched today in the platform itself, it's the financial solutions what we are going to providing in the platform itself, which is it will be facilitate a lot of contractors, the construction companies. The most important thing is to them, how is the liquidation, how is the cash with them right now. So now we're close with them to how we can support with our financial solutions, some from banks, some from fintech, some from NEC by itself. So again, the basis it was the communication, clear vision, clear messages, and I believe there is a lot of partners, they didn't catch that wave, so they missed a lot. Now we have over 20, or between 20 and 30 partners who is following or applying our model right now, which is good. And if we focus on this 30 strategic partner, I think it will be impact a lot. The majority of our business with these partners. So we're focusing on that 80-20 method. Again, we start to operate, apply, monitoring also to catch any gaps, to catch any failure. So how we can to make a quick action to fix it and enhance it from all of the parties. We have 4 different level of parties here, but we have to use that hats with the suppliers, with the contractors, with the beneficiaries themselves, the human, and how I can feel about their pain once they live in their homes. I believe we have to feel how they are feeling now. What's the impact on them? It's a matter of, again, it's communication and a strategic vision that's supported by the management and the leaders, the leaders themselves.
Great. Thank you very much. So we're going to have a bit of a wrap-up question now, which is going to focus on the qualities and the best practices that leaders cultivate within their supply chain. So Sam, I'm going to come to you first. What qualities are really important for leaders in procurement?
I think there's a few, and it depends whether you're talking about within your team or out to your supply chain. But I think the main one obviously is integrity, and the opposite side of that is trust. So you need to have integrity in what you do, how you operate, how you interact with your suppliers, and what that does is that breeds trust within your supply chain. But within your own team, I think there's a, in this day and age where you have technology and you have a lot of volatility. I mean, we've always had volatility, but it seems like it's more pronounced now. But within your team members, you need to be able to, first of all, create a high-performing team. But once you do that, you need to give them the ability to, or the trust in them to overcome the problems themselves. So almost, release the shackles, allow the team to be innovative in coming up with solutions, because not one person is ever going to have the answers to some of the issues that happen with supply chains. No one could have predicted COVID. No one could have predicted the Suez Canal. No one could have, actually, you maybe could have predicted tariffs, but that's a whole different thing. But you need to be able to think outside of the box, because you don't know what's going to come in front of you. So you probably need to just create problem solvers rather than the solutions to their problems. And that's really supply chain A, B, and C. Supply chains are never simple, and they're not designed to be straightforward. Otherwise, many people wouldn't have a job, really. So really, it's all about being able to be, the word we used at the start was resilience. And resilience, by definition, is the ability to navigate issues that you're faced with. So building a resilient team for me is the main thing.
Great. And Man, can we come to you next on qualities?
The same what Sam mentioned here, and also I think we are creating a new generation in the procurement field. New methods, new techniques, new strategies we have to keep it up. New skills we needed to raise it up. You have to, and this message is to the juniors who is sitting here. You have to go deep in the business and understand what they are doing now. I am an urban designer, and now I understand the electrical engineers, how they are thinking and what they are caring about. How is the mechanical? How is the financial guys thinking? If you go with that details and that, levels down, that you will explore your organization more. you will be understand your organization more. And also with this experience, with this discussion and brainstormings, beside of your skills in the how to think, I believe the the procurer or the purchaser here, he can raise a lot of concept and ideas, and how can it will be applied in his daily work. Sorry.
Great, thank you. And Frederick, your thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts on leadership and qualities, right? A lot of people would say that when it comes to a quality of a leader, leaders are born, while other people would say that you can get these qualities through going to school. In my view, procurement should embrace qualities which include communicating efficiently and effectively with internal and external stakeholders, I beg your pardon, to be able to influence these stakeholders, understand the importance and added value of procurement. So number one is just communicating and improving on influencing our stakeholders. And number two is negotiation skills. What we do every day from individual capacities when we leave home, with our children, with our families, we are just negotiating in everything. As procurement professionals, we need to extend this into our organization and understand that negotiation skills is not all about me, but it's all about creating a win-win-win situation, be it win for procurement, win for suppliers, and win for our internal customers. Last but not least is collaboration. Getting collaboration skills, it's something that is very difficult to measure. It's very difficult to understand how do you achieve it. And the only way I can put it in simple words is by limiting into 4 R's. So the first R will be improving the relationship, so it's supplier relationship management. Number 2 is enhancing the responsiveness of supply chain, or rather procurement function. Number 3 is building that ability to respond quickly to needs. And finally is resilience. So if we are able to address the 4 R's, we should be able to enhance our collaboration and improve on those skills. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nicholas, over to you as the last response here on quality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Allow me to be a little bit boring again, in the sense that the answer to this question, for me, is a summary of many issues that all of the panelists touched on, okay? We've said, and I'm going to use my own words here, that in procurement we work in different axes. We need to figure out what the issue is, set a strategy for this issue, whichever it might be, different strategy for a different part of the procurement process. And that needs to be communicated effectively, as yours very correctly said. It needs to be transparent and obvious to everybody, all other stakeholders and your internal teams, because this way you can track the process, and you need to, as we said, you need to have a continuous eye on what is happening on the market, on your process, so as to identify trends to allow you to effectively step in and mitigate any arising issue. So, in essence, what are we saying? As it was very eloquently put, I'm going to use different words. We are dancing on thin ice every day, okay? This is what procurement is, and you need to adjust. You need to have plan A, plan B, and plan C sometimes. Otherwise, as very well put, we would be out of a job. This is our job, to anticipate. We need to be proactive. And it's always better to be proactive than reactive. So communication is essential, and everything we spoke about, to manage this juggling act. That's what it is. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely brilliant conversation today. And I think some of the key themes that we've had from our panelists is really around the way that we communicate, the way that we work with people, both in terms of the supply chain and our teams, and how we set procurement up for success within the organization is really key in delivering on our outcomes. I think we've run out of time, so unfortunately we don't have time for questions from the audience. But if you would like to speak to any of the panelists today, they will be at the event to ask any questions. Thank you very much, panelists, and thank you very much, audience, for listening.